All right, we are in Parashat Tavo. So believe that I'll try to maybe share some ideas of what Eitan just did in the Siyum. And we'll see it like this. The Parasha says, ויקרא משה אל כל ישראל ויאמר עליהם אתם ראיתם את כל אשר עשה השם לעיניכם בארץ מצרים לפרעה ולכל עבדיו ולכל ארצו המסות הגדולות אשר ראו עיניך האותות והמופתים הגדולים ההם. And now it's a pasuk that it's very difficult. ולא נתן הקדוש ברוך הוא לכם לב לדעת ועיניים לראות ואוזניים לשמוע עד היום הזה. So you went to Egypt, you went out of Egypt, right? I took you out of there. You saw all the miracles, you saw all this thing, you saw this wonderful thing. He said, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not give you a heart to know, and eyes to see, and ears to listen until today. Those psukim that really come at the end of the parasha were said to Am Yisrael as a tochecha for their ungratefulness towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's very hard words. Regardless of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did to them, they were very ungrateful. And you can look further in Masechet Avodah Zarah and Daf Hey Amud Bet, what it says over there. But I'm going to ask you a question. It's not really clear what's the big tochecha, what's the big ta'ana that Moshe Rabbeinu comes into to Am Yisrael. I mean, afterwards, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he did say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not give you heart to know and eyes to see and ears to hear until this day. So what do you want from them? If they didn't have all these receptacles to be able to understand what God wants from them, so what's the problem? Don't blame them. Blame Hashem. So on that, the Shem Mishmuel, you all know the Shem Mishmuel, right? He lived at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century. He says something that is very, very amazing. It says, and I'm quoting, he says, the emet is שבשמיים אין מקמצים כלל וברצונו יתברך שמו להשפיע הכל טוב. From Shamayim, they're not going to shortchange you. They're going to give you all the good things. Everything is going to be given to you. אך המניעה היא מצד המקבלים שאינם ראויים לקבל ועומדים מרחוק. The obstacle comes from the people who stands afar, and therefore they're not appropriate to receive what is really coming to them. אך באם האדם יש לו תשוקה רבה, if a person has great desire להתקרב להשם יתברך, to get closer to Hashem, ממילא נמשך ונתקרב למקום ששם תשוקתו. He's going to be drawn to what his heart desires. When you read this, for me, when I read that, the words of Rabbi Yehuda Levi got so much stronger when it says, Libi b'mizrach v'anochi b'sof ma'arav. You are where you desire. And I'll tell you, as years go by and the more I hear, I understand those words in first hand. There are smells that I smell remind me of my homeland and sights and sounds. It's really amazing. It really is amazing. And he says that his father, he quotes here his father, בדברי המשנה in מסכת עירובין דף מ"ט עמוד ב', he says, היה מכיר אילן או גדר ואמר, שביתתי בעיקרו, קנה שם שביתה. And he says, and the reason is, כי במקום שרצונו וחשקו להיות, שם הוא. In other words, when a person determines that that's my shvita, you are there, you are where you are thinking of. And therefore, and I'm still quoting, ועל כן, אם יש לו תשוקה, if a person desires הקדוש ברוך הוא באמת, truthfully, יכול להשיג אף דברים שגבוהים ממנו ממדרגתו. You could receive things if you truthful. I mean, it's amazing to me. If you really want to be in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know what he's saying? You can reach, because of that desire, you can reach things that are above and beyond your ability on who you are. It's amazing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to be mashpia to the whole world, goodness, all the time. As it says, Bashamayim en mekamtzin klal. The problem is with people that stands from a distance. They don't want to come closer, and because of that distance, they're not appropriate to receive what we call the Shefa Eloki, the abundance that comes from above. And again, so why don't they zochet? Why don't they get it? Why aren't they appropriate? How do you get such a abundance anyway? How do you make this leap? How could you come closer and not to stay far? How do you do this thing? It's a nice word, but how do you actually do that? The answer is again, al yedei ratzon v'tshuka litkarev lakadosh baruch hu. By wanting and desiring to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's very, it's a tremendous tochecha that he's saying here. And he says, Im ha'adam yesh lo tshuka rabba litkarev lakadosh baruch hu. If a person has great desire to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ממילא נמשך ונתקרב אל מקום ששם תשוקתו. You're going to be drawn to what you are desiring. So if a person comes and says to me, Rabbi, I don't know, all these, how should I say it, the temptations coming to me, well, that's because you desire that they come your way. Years ago, I think maybe 20 years ago, they had this big thing, remember the secret. Everybody, the secret.
Law of attraction.
The law of attraction, that's exactly it. You didn't discover it in America, that was right there. You've been drawn to what you desire. So if you see those things coming your way, don't blame anybody. That's not a test from God. It's because inside of you, that's what you desire to. So it says, in other words, what determines where the person is not where you're holding now. It's rather where he desires to be. El hamakom shelav mishtokek. Remember, I told you that when people come to me, they come to the yeshiva, or people come to me, and we said it yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right? I say, I don't care where you came from. I don't care which yeshiva you went to. I don't care what did you do in your past life, were you mechalel Shabbat or you Shabbat. This is none of my business. All I'm concerned about is in which direction are you heading to. That's all I care about. So you could be in a top yeshiva, in a top shiur, but you're on your way down. I don't want to be there. You know why? Because you're going to pull me down also. If you want to be up, on the way up, I don't care who you are and what you are. We are walking on the same path. It's the same derech. Come on, let's go. Those things that people ask you all the time. So which yeshiva you went to? What difference does it make which yeshiva I went to? I know people who went to Slobodka and they were rabbis by reform shuls. Okay? That doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. So it's very possible that the person is on a low level, but if he desires to have the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he can reach higher things. He can reach tremendous things. In other words, if he wants the closest of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's not far anymore. He's already close. He's close to Hashem. And the remes for that idea, the Shem Mishmuel brings, as we said before, in the name of his father, and it says from the Mishnah in Eruvim that a person could determine his place of Shvitat Shabbat regarding what we call Batchum Shabbat from a further places of where he's at, and that will determine his place. In other words, regarding halacha, b'makom shertzono v'cheshko liyot shamu. Whatever you desire to be, that's where you're going to be. And we could learn from this halacha also regarding the place, the the issue regarding a spiritual matter. In other words, the closest to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what he's saying to him. Velo natan Hashem lachem lev ladat. Why? Because if they have a ratzon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't give it to you because you didn't want it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to give you something that you don't want. אין לכם רצון, אתם לא רוצים להיות קרובים אליי. אז אני לא נותן לכם. It's very simple, Rabotai. If they wanted, the desire was giving them from Shamayim. So therefore the chisaron did not come because HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not give it to them. The chisaron came from people, from the men. And that's why they were getting that tochacha. Now, when a person has the cheshek to come back, to do tshuva, to come back to the right place, only then he can really make tshuva appropriately. When a person doesn't want to, it is impossible to make tshuva. And I did tell you this many, many times. With all your great desire to help Kol Am Yisrael, you cannot help those who don't want to be helped. Right, Mr. Z? You can't help them. You can't help them. And if you do, it's a waste of time and your effort. So, but how do we get this ratzon? How do we get this ratzon? It's very hard to want something like this. So for that also, there is a way, there's an Eitzah. And that Eitzah, that advice, it's called Shabbat. Shabbat is Eit Ratzon. Especially in the time of Mincha, the time of Tfilat Mincha. And of course things evolve throughout the years. But in times of Mincha, it's called Ra'ava Derevi'in. In other words, the will of all wills. And that time in Mincha, the upper ratzon, the upper craving, call it this way, is being opened up, right? And it's like water that comes down, it comes down to us. And then at the time of Mincha, we are standing face to face with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And by doing so, that closeness brings the person inside, become more sensitive. It's like a magnet, it feels that. It's like if you have a magnet and the magnet is standing by itself, it's steady. But if you bring another magnet close to it, it starts moving. It starts moving until the merge. That's the same concept here. The time of Mincha does it to us. And that's why we said that Shabbat is the Zman for Tshuva. So, if we were going to look at this time, we might understand what the Shem Mishmuel is trying to tell us. It says, the Shem Mishmuel said, "B'Shabbat, Shabbat she'it et ratzon," especially during the time of Mincha, she'az niftach haratzon ha'elyon lemala u'kemayim panim el panim. Kach niftach etzel adam ratzon atshukah libo. That's how you desire the time for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore a person needs to take advantage of this time, especially this time, to awaken his ratzon, that sensitivity inside of him. And by doing so, he gets mamash a divine help. He gets siyata d'shemaya, and to be able to make this, to close the gap. And you know that some people sing during the seudot of the meals, and especially the 3 nigunim that the Ari HaKadosh wrote, that each one of them symbolizes something about the essence of Shabbat. And the nigun that they sing in Seudah Shlishit is called Bnei Chala. It's a very, very fascinating nigun. And that really talks the time about what we call Ben Hashmashot, like towards the end of the day of Shabbat. We call Ra'ava the Ravin, Retzona Retzono, where the Shabbat itself, by the power of Shabbat itself, the spiritual power of Shabbat itself, there is a siluk, a removal of all the klipot, and because of that, because there's no klipot, there is an ability to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the most intimate way by what we call bitul chitzoniim, by separating all this external stuff that really creates a barrier between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All the chitzoniim always refer to our ratzon to receive and never to give. When you break that, you will find it within you the ability to give. That's why not everybody can reach that level. You have to fill yourself up, to break yourself, the husks that cover you externally, and then you'll be able to give. Then you'll be able to give. Now, that the time of Seudah Shlishit, again, they would eat different times, and different times they will eat different things. As we say, it's Ben Hashmashot. It really means that all the tefillot could be mitkabel beratzon at this time, as it says in Bnei Chala, and that Seudah is called Seudah de Yaakov Avinu. It's the Seudah of Yaakov Avinu, and by eating the Seudah, you've been merited by being saved from the war of Gog and Magog. The Chassidut developed this idea into a major concept, or major idea in the practices of Chassidut, Chassidut itself. And many Chassidim sing Dafka, the songs during this time, Shiret Dvekut, in this time, and it's really an uplifting thing. Some Chassidim don't really eat during this time for different reasons. Based on the pasuk in Shemot, it says 3 times Hayom, Hayom, and so on and so forth. Right? So in Seudah Shlishit, sometimes they don't eat even bread. Sometimes they just say Divrei Torah, and it's recommended during this time not to say Chidushim of yourself, but rather to say something of somebody else, because if you're going to say Chidushim of yourself, if somebody is going to rebuke or rebuttal your Chidushim later on in Motzei Shabbat, you will be fine that you didn't say Divrei Torah on Seudah Shlishit. So it's a very interesting concept. It really is a magical time. So in that piyut of Bnei Chala that really deals with the essence of this time on the Pnimiyut of the Torah, it says, because of the great, of the great zgula of this time, that the Melech, in other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu nimtza begilui. He's really revealing himself, almost like in the state that we are in the month of Elul, right? The Be Malka begilufin. The king is revealing himself. And therefore, in this time, the Ratzon HaEloki is really being reflected inside of Am Yisrael, because we broke all those mechitzot, and all the dinim, and the mekatregim, all those things that pigs speak badlands, the kalbin chatzifin, right? They're been mitbatel, right? The berava velet ze'afin. Nobody's angry about us, and so on and so forth, and which is very interesting. That brings us to the concept, which is an interesting concept. Regarding the menucha of Yom Shabbat, there are 3 different levels of menucha. There is Leil Shabbat, there is Yom HaShabbat, and there's the time of Ra'avad HaRe'avin, during this time of Seudah Shlishit. The inyan of menucha Shabbat is menucha mimelacha, not to do any kind of menucha. The menucha of Yom HaShabbat, of the day, is higher, is greater, and really is the essence of menucha without any connection to melacha. You're resting because you're resting, not because you're resting over melacha by itself, because that already was an Erev Shishi. And by this concept by itself, there is an elevation even further at the time of Seudah Shlishit that really symbolizes the purpose of completion of what does it mean, the menucha of Shabbat. And if you want to look further, you can look at Sichot Shabbat and Parashat Meketz of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Zot Chanukah of the year Tavshin Men Gimel. So it says Menucha Shlema. We say in the Tefillah, Menucha Shlema, right? Mitchai Menuchatam. Therefore, we should know that the Menucha of Am Yisrael comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what that refers to? That refers to Zman HaGeulah, which is going to come, where there's going to be a complete completion regarding this Menucha. Erez עוד 2 דקות. So since the Shabbat is the Et Ratzon, it's very important Rabotai, it's very important to sing in Seudah Shlishit especially. Don't just eat there, Bela Mishpachat HaBalanim. Don't just eat and drink. Say Divrei Torah, but you have to sing. Now you have to. It is recommended for you to sing. And that's why it says that Shabbat benekal lashuv b'tshuva, because it says Shabbat bo tashuv. And Remez, you can find that in the words of the Midrash regarding Adam HaRishon. When he heard from Cain regarding the zgula of the tshuva, the essence of tshuva, he was so amazed that he composed the Tehillim, which is said Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat. The Midrash says, Al tikra Shabbat ela Mizmor Shir Liyom HaTshuva. That's why there is a direct correlation between Shabbat and Tshuva as well. So when a person comes back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he really chafetz lirot benoam mozecha, like it says in Yedid Nefesh. Again, Yedid Nefesh is a tremendous song of dveikut. Is a tremendous song of dveikut that describes the longing of the neshama to connect to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I told you this before. That is too much for me. I cannot sing this song. I'm going to start crying on Shabbat. And I'm not a chassid. Some chassidim go to the corner and cry. I'm not a chassid, so I don't cry on Shabbat. But it's a tremendous, tremendous song. And that is the Shmirat Shabbat is to be lishtofef bebeit echalecha. Is I want to be in the presence of the Shem, the presence of the Lord. So those words of the Shem Shmuel really refer to all the Shabbatot throughout the year. However, you should know that the Ashkenazim would start saying Slichot this Shabbat, this Motzai Shabbat. And in the year that he wrote the Tafresh Ayin, Shabbat fell, Slichot started in the same Parashat that we are saying today. And that's what he connects those words to the saying of Slichot on Shabbat. And that's why you can understand why the Hasidim start, or some people start, on Motzai Shabbat to say Slichot immediately after Chatzot Alayla. כי כל מה שיכולים לקראת לשבת יותר טוב. Because it's really close to Shabbat, and they say Slichot on Shabbat, that's really a great thing to do. Why? Because Shabbat was Et Rachamim, Veratzon, Veshat Shuvah. And that is a tremendous time for us to do so. So Rabotai, we don't have many Shabbatot before Rosh Hashanah. So first of all, you have to up your game, Ben Adam Lechavero. You have to be very, very careful with the way you talk to people. All year long, especially at this time. Being negative to other people would not be able to refine your neshama to be able to make tshuva towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. In order to refine your neshama, you have to be mochel, as Eitan said in the Siyum. You are going to be treated the way you treat other people. Why? שנאמר כל ששנוא עליך אל תעש לחבריך. So we have to be makpid on Ben Adam Lechavero 7 times more than we do during the year. However, the Shabbatot that we have basically 2 Shabbatot between Ayin and Rosh Hashanah. Make sure that those Shabbatot are very special. No arguments in shul. Your meal is eat less and celebrate more. Sing on your Shabbat. And listen, we are standing in very difficult times. All these things is happening in Eretz Israel and so on and so forth. The only way for us to do so is by looking to love one another, to be united, to help one another. Not to criticize. There are plenty of other things that will criticize on what we do. Our job is to bring everybody together. If you want to know, I heard something very beautiful. If you want to know based on what the Haftarah says, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed Malchut Yehuda and Malchut Israel? Why they had to be apart? The reason why they had to be apart, so the Jews would learn to look for one another, to care for one another, to come back together. Yeh Ratzon, the Galut is going to be able to break all the masachim, all the klipot, and we will be kara first of all to one another. Only that closeness to one another would allow us to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we should all have a Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Shel Tshuva. Amen. Kenei Ratzon.